friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on the concept of Kaal Sarp Yoga in Vedic astrology. So friends, just because we are going through the holy month of Shravan, it's a Monday over here in Vancouver at the time when I'm recording this video. So I just came back after having a darshan at Lord Shiva's temple. So I was just thinking about that very soon we will be heading towards the Nag Panchami as well, which becomes a very auspicious day, not only to worship Lord Shiva, but also for all those people who have this yoga in their chart. So in this video friends, I will be just giving you a summary of the way this Kaal Sarp Yoga impact people's lives, affect people's lives, what could be the different interpretation of this yoga in modern times. Just because friends, this is one of a distinctive kind of yoga on which you will not find any descriptive information in the classical text. And whenever we talk about Rahu and Ketu, which in itself represents the surprise element, so even in the language of the classical text, there has been so many difference of opinion, where some like scholars have attributed one sign of exaltation to Rahu, and some other scholars like believe that Rahu attains exaltation in some other sign. So because of which friends, whatsoever my understanding on notes has been so far, whether it's about over my own personal life or whatsoever I have read in the books, so all of that I will try to present in this video. So now friends, to begin with, what is the formation of this Kaal Sarp Yoga? So now friends, that's very simple. When you will find that all the planets come in the axis of Rahu and Ketu, that is a combination or a alignment which forms this Kaal Sarp Yoga. Now friends, as you know that Rahu and Ketu always moves in a retrograde motion. So because Rahu represents the head of the serpent and Ketu represents the tail part of the serpent. So the planets should be coming in the axis of from Rahu to Ketu rather than from Ketu to Rahu. Second thing is that there has to be all the planets which should be coming in this axis, because many times I even keep on coming across all these terminologies where if you will find that moon is outside of the axis of Rahu and Ketu, or sun is outside the axis of Rahu and Ketu, then people attribute that combination as the Anshik Kaal Sarp Yoga or the partial Kaal Sarp Dosha. So there is no such term as that. All the planets have to be in the axis of Rahu and Ketu for giving formation to this yoga. Now comes the point friends, that when we talk about that why there is so much of the like a fear factor around this yoga, or how this yoga influences us, or is there only a bad side attached to this yoga, or there are some good and the benefic aspect which can also be attached to this yoga. So now friends, it's very simple. See, when we talk about Rahu and Ketu, why we do not like notes in our life, in our charts? Because they somehow reduces the possibility and prospects of our free will. Now the good part, or you call it bad part, about the notes and about this yoga is that if you will find a very strong Kaal Sarp Yoga in a native's chart, trust me on this thing, if the overall alignment of the chart is indicative of some defamation or some bad negative events, so you can precisely predict those events in that chart because of the strong grip of Rahu and Ketu. Predestiny you call it, or destiny is going to have such a strong grip in the life of the native that irrespective of how much efforts native is putting in, native will not be able to change the outcome of the events. Now it has also got other side attached to it as well. Now if you will find a strong grip of Rahu and Ketu in someone's chart, a strongly formed Kaal Sarp Yoga, and the overall planetary alignment is indicative of a direction of success, lot many titles, lot many wealth and luxury. So trust me, you can precisely predict basis and accurately down to the year, month and week and days, that in which all time span events and those benefic events are gonna happen in the life of the native. So this is what the beauty of Rahu and Ketu is. This is what the beauty of Kaal Sarp Yoga is. It all comes down to the overall strength and alignment of the chart of the native. Now friends, when we talk about that, like what could be the dimension of judging this Kaal Sarp Yoga? Like the way I use this term, that Kaal Sarp dosha could be bad as well, this could be good as well. So how can you determine that? So now friends, first of all, what is important is that how much is the strength of your ascendant lord. Now irrespective of the fact that all the planets are hemmed in the axis of Rahu and Ketu, but over and above that, if you will find that ascendant is strong, ascendant lord is strong, so trust me, that can be seen as a good situation or a saving grace. Now comes the second point, because now you must be getting confused as well, that because Rahu and Ketu are the two opposite side of the coin, they represent two polar different qualities. Because on one side, where Rahu gives you all sort of materialistic desires, all sort of prospects of recognition, fame, desires, accomplishments. On another side, Ketu represents liberation, moksha, detachment, renunciation. So how can you get to know that just looking at a chart, that okay, this person has got a Kaal Sarp Yoga in his chart, but out of all these polar opposite qualities of nodes, which aspect is gaining more strength in the life of the native? So that you can determine on the basis of that which aspect of the node has got a strong influence on moon. So now let's say, for example, if you will find a kundali which has got a Kaal Sarp Yoga, and over and above that, is moon conjunct with either Rahu or Ketu, or is moon sitting in the nakshatra of either Rahu or Ketu, or let's say for example, if ascendant lord is conjunct with Rahu or Ketu. So these are some of the dimensions via which you can get to know that out of all these polar opposite qualities of nodes, which aspect of the contrasting nature of the nodes has got a strong influence on the native's life, on native's personality. Like they are the nodes of moon only. So because of which, and the major influence of nodes always gets experienced in the subconsciousness only. So because of which, whatsoever impression, influence moon is going to be strongly receiving, you can come to this conclusion that definitely out of all these opposite qualities, moon is, and the personality is more influenced by either materialistic desires or the prospects of renunciation or some sort of karmic events influencing you. Now friends, when we talk about the vulnerable side and comparing it with the gifts and the blessings of this yoga. So now friends, when we talk about vulnerable side, so like the way I already mentioned this thing, that they somehow snatches away your free will. Now you can debate with me on this, but trust me, because I have this yoga in my own chart as well. So somehow in all those charts or kundalis where you will find a strong grip of Kaal Sarp Yoga, somehow the events will tend to be very unpredictable, very unforeseen. A kind of an unstable life can also be experienced in whichever axis this Kaal Sarp Yoga is going to be getting formed in the life of the native. Now friends, over here, like the way we say this thing, that in our whole chart, it's the 8th house only which is responsible for bringing sudden events. So this is how is going to be the complete life of the native, because all the planets have come in the axis of Rahu and Ketu. So vulnerability aspect, if I were to mention, so definitely your free will goes down to a greater extent. Second thing is that life can become very unstable, and depending on that whether you have a strong, a benefic, a potent Kaal Sarp Yoga in your chart, then in those kind of circumstances, definitely like depending on out of Rahu and Ketu, which node or which aspect of the nature is gaining more strength in your personal life, that aspect is going to give you more trouble. So now first we are talking about the vulnerable side. So definitely the vulnerability of the Rahu could come in the form of confusion, illusion, like all the time you are getting distracted, not being able to take any sane and a very focused kind of decision, vulnerability towards addiction, and most importantly like prospects of irregularity, instability, where Rahu is going to be placed in your chart. Now if you have to understand it from the perspective of the Ketu, that you have a Kaal Sarp dosha and it is working in a vulnerable way, and Ketu is getting more strength, then definitely friends, detachment, renunciation, extreme events in the area where Ketu is going to be disposited in your chart. Trust me friends, when we talk about unpredictability, definitely Rahu can create confusion, but there is still a prospect on which Rahu cannot completely change the course of your destiny with just one event, but Ketu hold this power. So because of that, all these kind of extreme unforeseen events, all those events where you are not being able to understand the rationality or reason behind it, so some sort of your karma of the past chasing you in this lifetime in the form of creating blockages, not being able to reveal the answers or the areas where you have been working hard. Now let's say for example, if your Rahu Ketu axis is getting formed in the first house and the seventh house axis, Ketu is in the seventh house and it is working, this axis is working in a vulnerable way in your case, and Moon has got more of the influence of Ketu. Now this could be Moon is conjunct with Ketu in the D9 chart, or Moon is sitting in the nakshatra of the Ketu in the Lagan chart, then we can say that definitely some sort of extremities which native might have to experience in the matters of the seventh house. So this was the vulnerable aspect of the Kaal Sarp dosha working in your case. Now let's try to understand the benefic side of the Kaal Sarp dosha. So now trust me friends, if you will find that in someone's chart, ascendant lord is in a strong dignity, Rahu and Ketu are creating a Kaal Sarp yoga, but they are placed in a favorable signs, like Rahu being placed in the signs of Mercury, or even placed in the sign of Saturn. So that in itself, on the opposite side, Ketu is going to be placed in the Jupiter signs. So that is a very good scenario. Over and above that, if you will find that ascendant lord is in a strong dignity and Moon is also well protected because of the aspect of the Jupiter, so then in this scenario we can say that yes, definitely native might have a lower possibility of giving any direction to his life. The prospect of free will is very low in this chart, but over and above that, just because Rahu and Ketu are being placed in a dignified zodiac signs, ascendant lord is in a strong dignity, and Moon, most importantly, Moon is well guarded by because of the aspect of Jupiter. So trust me friends, with this chart we can also come to this conclusion that native might have taken birth to do something extraordinary. And trust me friends, if native is going to run into some favorable dashas at the right time of his life, so native might manifest some hidden talents which he might not have even explored so far. He might not even have this idea about himself, or even the people in his influence, circle of influence, no one would have expected this extent of talent which native might be carrying within himself, which Rahu and Ketu might bring out at the right times. Now when I say right times, so definitely Rahu activates or Rahu matures at the age of 42, Ketu matures at the age of 48. So definitely native might have his fortune awakened at the age of 42. So this is how friends you have to make a judgment. Kaal Sarp yoga is not always vulnerable, is not always a cursed yoga. It all comes down to overall alignment of the chart, which you have to study while doing lot of scrutinization of overall aspect of the chart. So definitely friends, in this example I gave you an overview about the both vulnerable side or the gifted or the blessed side of this axis working in someone's chart. Now friends, definitely I will give you an overview of Rahu and Ketu's alignment or axis if it is getting formed in all the 12 houses as well. But when we talk about the remedial aspect of this yoga, so now friends, that's very simple, because in the remedial aspect, the worship of Lord Shiva becomes very, very important. Like the way friends we say this thing that even in terms of remedy and the mantra recitation, we say this thing that a recitation of the Mahamrityunjaya mantra is always the ultimate panacea. It's always the ultimate remedy. Like there is nothing left after that, because Mahamrityunjaya mantra is considered as so potent that it can even bring a dead back to life. So this is the kind of power which I am saying over here. Like when I say bringing a dead back to life, I mean to say, if you're going through heavily afflicted dasha, like dasha of the killer planets, Markesh planets and all of that, so doing the Mahamrityunjaya mantra actually proves to be a saving grace. So now friends, over here when we talk about controlling Rahu and Ketu, so it's not only Mahamrityunjaya mantra which is the one thing which you have to seek refuge. Second thing is that specifically for controlling Rahu, worship of Lord Kaal Bhairava, worship of goddess Durga can also prove to be very beneficial. Even like wearing a silver chain, keeping a piece of silver with yourself, and specific mantras like Kaal Bhairavashtakam can be considered as one of the benefic way of appeasing the negative effect of Rahu. And friends, when we talk about specifically from Ketu's perspective, so nothing better than the worship of Lord Ganesha. Trust me friends, like start your day with the Atharv Sheesh Ganesh Sutra, and any remedial way, like this could be visiting Lord Ganesha's temple on Wednesday and offering durva or modak laddus. So this is one way of appeasing this yoga's energies or malefic energies and turning it in your favor. Now definitely friends, because both of these two planets are the planets of confusion, of hidden energy, secrecy, so your mind has to be in a very positive, in a very benefic influence as well. So I would say that even the recitation of the Gayatri mantra, like where you are praying to the higher powers in order to take you from ignorance or darkness to the light, to the wisdom, to the knowledge. So now this could be the recitation of Gayatri mantra, this could be the worship of Lord Ganesha and goddess Saraswati as well. So all the gods which are in a way connected with the intelligence, with the wisdom, can be one of the best way of appeasing the energy of this yoga in your case. And lastly friends, because I am actually making this video because of we are going through this holy month of Shravan. So the remedies of this is generally done in the holy month of Shravan only. So you can consider getting a Rudra Abhishek at the time of any of the Monday of the Shravan month, or you can even do a Nagin Puja on the Nag Panchami via hiring a professional priest in order to get a dosha removal done of this Kaal Sarp Yoga in your case. And lastly friends, like out of all the 12 Jyotirlingas dedicated, devoted to Lord Shiva, so specifically Trimbakeshwar Jyotirling is blessed in order to for getting a puja done for this yoga. So these are the few things friends which you can consider doing. Like the way I have already given examples of some sort of exemplary people and their lives as well. Like if I were to explain the charts of, like for example, Abraham Lincoln, Sachin Tendulkar, like there have been so many jubilant people who have attained humongous success because of this kind of yoga which they have in their chart. And not only that friends, because there has been cases of so many celebrities and all those people like who have attained their fame, their stardom at the dasha of Rahu. So in like the way many Vedic and Hindi astrologers, they use this term a lot many times, that Kalyug ka Raja is Rahu. Like in these modern days, the only king or the only planet which can make you king is Rahu. So when we say a Kaal Sarp Yoga, that in itself gives more and more power to nodes. Like this could be either Rahu or Ketu, but in a way, if you will blend your life as per the energies and principles which Rahu and Ketu wants you to abide by, and you will get the right set of dashas at the right time, and you are following all these remedies, trust me friends, this can be a blessing in your life, this can be a blessing in your chart as well. So like the way we say this thing, that if you want to give more energy to Rahu, you want to actually blend your life as per the Rahu principles, so rather than remaining confused, try to dedicate and devote your life towards how much of the wealth you can attain. Like the more you are going to be focused towards your goals, towards your profession, towards your ambition, the better you can do in the life. This is the same thing which we say for Ketu as well. For Ketu, it is the inner clarity, inner peace, meditative lifestyle which becomes more important. So here we are just talking about whatsoever you have to do that as a surrender to the god in whichever house Ketu is going to be placed in your chart. So this is something, friends, which I just wanted to say briefly. Again, I want to make a humble request that if you have this yoga in your chart, so very soon we will be celebrating the holy auspicious festival of Nag Panchami. Get the puja done on this auspicious day, or at least if that is not possible, so visit Lord Shiva's temple, offer water, milk, and all the essential ingredients which are required for the worship of Lord Shiva. Worship Lord Shiva, and the mantra which you can see on your screen, recite that mantra standing in front of the Lord Shiva. Now friends, if I were to talk about the Kaal Sarp Yoga getting formed in different houses, so now we will take our discussion to this last section and we will try to understand some sort of probable results of this yoga getting formed in all the houses of your astrological chart. So now friends, if you will find that Rahu is placed in your first house and Ketu is placed in your seventh house, and all the planets have come in the axis of Rahu and Ketu. So now friends, definitely this is a good yoga in a form of making your career in politics, in entertainment business, anywhere where you have to face the camera, you have to deal with the masses, you have to sell product. So for any sort of public facing, this placement and this Kaal Sarp Yoga can actually work out in your favor. Like a lot many times it has been seen in the charts that it has become responsible for some sudden, unpredictable, huge gains, financial gains. Now friends, this axis is only vulnerable in the matters of the partnership. Now this could be a business partnership, or this could be even in the prospects of marriage as well, that if you will find that your seventh house lord is afflicted, or Venus individually is afflicted in your chart, and Ketu is gaining more prominence in your seventh house, then many times either it completely denies the marriage, it could give a late marriage. So a sort of a mystery in the matters of the seventh house has to be experienced, where native has to surrender himself to the higher divine will, but in the form of exerting yourself to the best of your capabilities. This axis or this Anant Kaal Sarp Yoga can actually work out in your favor. Now friends, if you will find Rahu to be placed in the second house and Ketu to be in the 8th house, and all the planets are in their axis, so this is known as the Kulik Kaal Sarp Dosha. So now friends, it all comes down to the dignity of these two nodes in their respective houses. So now for example, if you will find that Rahu is placed in the Mercury signs, or the Venus sign, or even the Saturnian signs, so trust me, this can actually pave path towards some huge financial gains as well. But let's say for example, if you will see that Rahu is afflicted in the second house, being placed in the Cancer sign, in the Leo sign, or the lord of the Rahu is not well disposed, then friends, this can actually give lot of concerns, lot of worry on the account of your wealth, your finances, your family ties. Your speech might become responsible for all sort of dispute and fights in the family, or you might have a habit of lying a lot, or any sort of addictions is also seen with this kind of alignment. And not only that friends, because even from the 8th house, Ketu's placement in the 8th house is a very sensitive alignment. It might bring out all the results of all the past life misdeeds done by you, scandals, entanglement, and association with the wrong elements of the society. So overall friends, we have to see the dignity, but definitely this is the axis which can become strongly responsible for huge financial success, or disputes and all sort of worries on the account of your family dealings. Now friends, the third Kaal Sarp alignment is that if you will find Rahu to be placed in your 3rd house and Ketu to be placed in your 9th house, known as the Vasuki Kaal Sarp Yoga. So now friends, this is a kind of a positive alignment to this extent, because Rahu is considered good in the like Upachya Bhava, like 3rd house, 6th house, 10th house, 11th house. So now it all comes down to in which dignity Rahu is placed in over here. Now trust me, with this is a kind of alignment which has given rise to lot many actors, lot many entrepreneurs, like self-made billionaires with this kind of alignment. So it all comes down to in which dignity Rahu is placed in the 3rd house. But definitely friends, this is a kind of alignment where if the whole Kaal Sarp Yoga, because at the beginning of this video I already gave you a interpretation of a benefic Kaal Sarp Yoga and a dreaded Kaal Sarp Yoga, a afflicted Kaal Sarp Yoga. So trust me, the benefic, if this energy is going to be working out in your favor, so this can actually make you very confident, very brave, very courageous, always very innovative. But if this energy is not working out in your favor, you might get punished because of your rashness, impulsiveness. Your association in the public is going to be very questionable. So now friends, with this kind of placement, if it is working in a negative way, the whole sigh of relief or the hope is gonna get attached to Ketu's energies in the 9th house. Because friends, it hardly matters in which zodiac sign Rahu and Ketu are placed. Ketu's placement standalone in the 9th house or in the 12th house is considered as very good. So it all comes down to your devotion, your surrender to the higher powers, and specifically the sign lord, and worshipping the deity or the god connected with that sign lord of the 9th house can be seen as one of the right way of appeasing the energy of this Vasuki Kaal Sarp Yoga in your chart. Now friends, if you will find Rahu to be placed in your 4th house and Ketu to be placed in the 10th house, which is also known as the Shankpal Kaal Sarp Yoga. So now friends, this is a very sensitive alignment, and trust me, if you're going to have very badly afflicted Rahu in the 4th house, and 4th house lord is also afflicted, so the best advice for you is going to be try to change your place of residence. Like moving away from your birthplace might prove to be more beneficial for you. Also friends, with this kind of alignment, it can give rise to lot many confusion, chaos in a native's domestic life. It can also adversely affect the health of the mother as well if moon is also afflicted in the chart. So now friends, this is a kind of alignment which actually brings lot of inner emotional instability, because like the way I have already mentioned this thing, that the instability or the problems given by Ketu or Ketu's influence on the moon can still put you on the path of spirituality, but the influence of Rahu on the moon or on the 4th house many times give addiction and carelessness, hallucination, all sort of reckless actions. So with this kind of alignment, if this energy is going to be working out adversely in your case, because all the planets are in the axis of Rahu and Ketu, so then friends, all these emotional, mental vulnerability, concerns, and vulnerability in the domestic life in the form of bickering, quarrels, misunderstanding can be experienced. But if this axis is going to be working out a lot in your favor, so trust me friends, with this kind of yoga, native can actually attain good success in the foreign land. And whenever we talk about anything to do with the family business, or like all those people who become real estate giants and all of that, so this kind of alignment can actually make native very diplomatic, that you might not be able to understand or decode or decipher what exactly is going on within the mind of this person. So this is how native can actually make use of his there could be a little bit of the manipulations which can also be experienced, which native can use in his advantage. Like specifically friends, like when we talk about politicians, when we talk about all those spies and all of that, so there are those line of work where you need to be at your diplomatic best. So over there native can do very good. And because friends, Ketu is going to be placed in the 10th house as well. So if this energy is afflicted in the life of the native might have to go through a lot of extreme transformation, or might have to deal with the extreme people at his work front. Now friends, when we talk about the next Kaal Sarp Yoga, which is known as the Padma Kaal Sarp Yoga, where Rahu is going to be placed in your 5th house and Ketu is going to be placed in your 11th house. So now friends, this is a kind of a positive energy only if Rahu and Ketu are going to be placed in a dignified signs. And over and above that, Jupiter is also aspecting Rahu, because friends, as you know that in the original Kalpurush Kundli, 5th house belongs to the Sun, and as we know that Sun, which represents your righteousness, and Rahu is a proper rebel. Rahu never wants to follow the set course or path. So because of which friends, now let's say for example, if Rahu and Ketu in this axis, like a Kaal Sarp Yoga is there in your chart, and Rahu and Ketu are well placed as per the sign, and native is actually working in all those fields where you have to be very creative, you have to be very innovative, and dealing with the speculation or huge chunk of money, dealing in all these kind of huge speculative interest is getting qualified. So over there native can do very good. But trust me friends, majority of the times, I will be very honest with you, with this kind of alignment I have seen some very successful actors. But even friends, with this kind of alignment, even if you are gonna become actor, trust me, there will always be a degree and sense of mystery or energy of scandal which will surround you. And I have also seen lot many charts where people have gambled every single penny of their saving, or they have also become responsible for losing out their ancestral family wealth as well in gambling. So this is a very sensitive alignment. All of your planets are in the axis of Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are in a sensitive houses. So this placement or this Padma Kaal Sarp Yoga needs to be studied with proper scrutinization, taking into consideration all aspects of your chart. Moving ahead friends, now let's say for example, if you will find Rahu to be placed in your 6th house and Ketu to be placed in your 12th house. So now friends, this is known as the Mahapadma Kaal Sarp Yoga. So now friends, trust me, this is a very good yoga, but it needs to be studied with a pinch of salt, because a lot many successful politicians and people in top military army positions, top leadership roles have been seen with this kind of alignment. And the beauty of this alignment is that I've seen lot many charts that if dashas are gonna come in a right pattern, in right cycle, these tend to remain those people who spend their first half of the life in the attainment of the wealth, possession of the wealth, attainment of the position and power, and they use their latter half of the life for doing charity, generously sharing their wealth, their knowledge, their wisdom with the world. So this is a very kind of a sensitive and a very blessed kind of axis. And if you have this Kaal Sarp Yoga in your chart and the axis of Rahu and Ketu is dignified, so trust me friends, this combination can actually give you success in all aspects, whether we talk about material or whether we talk about spiritual. But now friends, again, vulnerability generally comes that because 6th house is also the house of our competitors, our enemies, our debts. So many times it gives association with the questionable element of the society or native, because of his wrong choices, because of his addictive tendencies, he incur lot of debts as well. So now again friends, with this kind of alignment, like if other contributing factors are indicating that Rahu is strong and your ascendant lord is strong, so native can actually make his profession in all those kind of entities which are like being judged in the society, like being in the business of tobacco or marijuana or alcohol, casinos, and I have already mentioned successful politicians and all of that. So this placement needs to be studied with a pinch of salt, but overall this placement has got more of the benefic side attached to it if Jupiter is strong, ascendant lord is strong, and the signs of Rahu and Ketu are favorable to them. Now friends, the next Kaal Sarp dosha is called as the Takshak Kaal Sarp Yoga, which is formed when you will find Rahu to be placed in your 7th house and Ketu to be placed in your 1st house, and all the planets are in this axis. So now friends, I will be very honest with you, if this energy or this Kaal Sarp axis is working adversely in your case, so many times it gives rise to some sort of mystery around the birth of the native, or this could be like with this kind of alignment. For example, if you will also find that native has taken birth with moon in the Gandanta, or moon in the Gand moon nakshatra, or moon being or a birth of a new moon, of a eclipse, then trust me, all those possibility is going to get accentuated. So many times people who have got irregular body limbs and all of that, so this can give rise to a lot many things. Now friends, I am first starting with the vulnerable aspect of this Kaal Sarp alignment. And also friends, because Rahu is placed in the 7th house. Now friends, with this kind of Kaal Sarp Yoga, it becomes very important that native should dedicate and devote himself towards his public duties. Like if with this kind of alignment you devote yourself to the public service, like aspiring to become a politician, becoming a successful businessman, then trust me, this alignment can actually work out in your favor, because native will always be relying on the public acceptance, acknowledgement, approval. If Ketu is going to be very strong in the first house, trust me, native might also have issues of the low confidence, low morale, all of that. So now friends, if I were to summarize, this placement can actually work out in your favor, that whatsoever you will be experiencing in your life, the major events of your life, it is somehow is going to be beyond your control, or the karma of the past life might be playing in this life of yours in the form of this alignment taking place in your chart. But again friends, I have already mentioned this thing, Rahu's placement in the 7th house being potent, being powerful, and Jupiter supporting Rahu over here with its aspect, Moon is strengthened, ascendant Lord is strengthened, so this can actually give very successful public career as well. Now friends, the next alignment is called as the Karkotak Kaal Sarp Yoga, when you will find Rahu to be placed in the 8th house and Ketu to be placed in the 2nd house. So now friends, this is a kind of alignment which can actually make someone a very good astrologer, a very good researcher, like, because with this kind of alignment, because 8th house has a lot to do with the psychology, and Rahu also wants to probe things down, so you can become a good actor, you can become a very good detective, you can do very good in any sort of secretive intelligence services as well. The friends, the vulnerability of this alignment is that if this alignment is not working out in your favor, then it can actually give rise to native getting inclined towards the anti-social elements of the society. And now over here, it's not only the anti-social elements in a way where we talk about the people engaged in unlawful, unethical activities, but also friends, like even when we talk about the path of adhyatma, of spirituality, so native might have got interest more towards gaining power or tantra, and always this fear is going to loom on the native that he might get misguided in order to make use of these occult powers to harm someone, get back at someone. So this placement of Rahu in the 8th house needs to be studied with a lot of contemplation, with a lot of scrutinization. Now friends, when we talk about Ketu's role in the 2nd house, it can give you very insightful speech, but when we talk about that, if this axis is not gonna be working out in your favor, like the alignment and this axis is afflicted, then it can actually make the native face the heat in the matters of the paternal property. Native might be disowned from his family or his paternal property and assets and all of that. So this is, our friends, we have to study in which light this alignment is going to be working out. But trust me, anything to do with the fields of psychology, exploration, secrecy, native can very success in all these fields. Now friends, the next Kaal Sarp Yoga is called as the Shankhchud Kaal Sarp Yoga, where if you will find Rahu to be placed in the 9th house and Ketu to be placed in the 3rd house. So now friends, this is a very sensitive alignment. Now trust me, over here, both of these nodes are gonna manifest very sensitive, very sudden, unpredictable results. So now for example, if you will find that Rahu and Ketu are dignified as per their sign placement, ascendant Lord, and the moon is well protected, then we can say that Rahu in the 9th house can actually awaken your fortune in a foreign land, or you might do something very innovative, something very out of the box in your chosen craft, in your chosen field. Now friends, the only vulnerability is that native has to learn to follow the ethical moral code, because many times what happens is that because of the force of the circumstances of the life, of our youth, our enthusiasm, many times we end up doing those acts, those activities in our youth, which has got a very serious repercussion which we have to face in the latter half of the life. So with this kind of alignment, because out of all the houses in our chart, it's the 9th house only which is the house of ethics, of goodness, of charity. So we have to take into consideration the dignity of the Jupiter. And trust me friends, over here in this alignment, because Ketu is going to be placed in the 3rd house, I still remember during my school days, I used to have this very good friend of mine. So he was a Virgo rising and he had Mars and Ketu in the 3rd house. Growing up, he was very good in sports, but later on he got into bad company and all those people he used to hang out with and the fights he used to get into with. So it all becomes very important, because In any case, Mars is not a very auspicious planet for the Virgo rising people, and Ketu and Mars gaining this much power in the third house is always gonna raise the question the way you're going to use your energies. It can actually make you a very good finisher, it can make you very critical, very far-sighted, very visionary, very reflective. But again, Ketu's placement in the third house might actually give a rise to the kind of people you associate yourself with. That is one area where you have to take into consideration how the overall chart is responding to this axis. Now friends, the next Kaal Sarp Yoga is called as the Ghatak Kaal Sarp Yoga. So now friends, for this Rahu has to be placed in your 10th house and Ketu has to be placed in your 4th house. So definitely friends, in today's modern day and age where you have to be at your diplomatic best, at your corporate job, in business, and you have to be all the time facing the limelight, you want people to recognize and acknowledge you for all the hard work you have been putting in. So Rahu's placement in the 10th house can help you in that specific area of life. Ketu's placement in the 4th house can actually make you very intuitive as well. So friends, definitely this placement has got a more of the benefic results attached to it, but again it all comes down to in which dignity overall chart is responding with this axis of Rahu and Ketu. Now let's say for example, if you will find that 4th house lord is severely afflicted, then native might have a very troubled domestic life, family life. Native, no matter how much success you have attained, but you're not being able to spend quality time with your family, with your family members, or there is always the concerns of instability which native has to face. He is not being able to reside or stay at one place for a longer time. So friends, this is a kind of alignment which has got a very good a material connotation attached to it. It all comes down to how the tail end of the Rahu Ketu axis is responding. So the best approach with this alignment is that you can actually take interest in the religious and spiritual austerity, because that is definitely going to reveal your inner talents. Your inner awakening will definitely make you experience your true talents, and which you can utilize via giving additional thrust and power to your 10th house Rahu in order to attain material and worldly success and accomplishments as well. Now friends, Rahu's placement in the 11th house and Ketu's placement in the 5th house and all the planets in the axis of Rahu and Ketu is called as the Vishdhar Kaal Sarp Dosha. So now friends, this alignment can actually work out in your favor, specifically from the material success perspective, in a way that your ascendant lord is in a strengthened state, moon is dignified, well protected because of the aspect of the Jupiter. Then it can actually make you very resourceful, it can make you very innovative for your income, for your financial gains perspective. But friends, when we talk about from Ketu's perspective, so that is the only one aspect which can actually work in your favor, in your disadvantage as well. So now let's say for example, if you will find that 5th house lord is dignified and Jupiter is aspecting the 5th house, then native can actually demonstrate some exceptional talents as well. And if you will find that Ketu in the 5th house is afflicted, then it can actually give rise to difficulties on the account of children, or some sort of confusion while taking some important decision, because as you know that 5th house also tells about our mental aptitude as well. So with this kind of alignment, you have to give more attention towards having a spiritual mindset, a God, a fearing, a God, and the religiously driven lifestyle and mindset will definitely prove to be a saving grace in order to manifest the best of the results of this alignment or this Vishdhar Kaal Sarp Yoga in someone's chart. And friends, the last sort of Kaal Sarp alignment is known as the Sheshnag Kaal Sarp Yoga, where if you will find Rahu to be placed in the 12th house, Ketu in the 6th house, and all the planets are in their axis. So now friends, with this kind of alignment, let's first take up the case of the vulnerability. Now definitely if you will find that the ascendant lord is weak, moon is not being aspected by Jupiter, or Jupiter stand alone is weak in the chart. So this can give rise to native being more driven towards the secretive, clandestine activities, and all of the acts done by native might give rise to more hidden enemies, more enmity in his circle of influence. And friends, you cannot even overlook this fact that with this excess, Ketu is placed in the 6th house. So 6th house Ketu can actually give rise to heavy debts. It can also give rise to very powerful enemies as well. So friends, my take on this excess is that more than any other remedy, it's the counseling and right mindset which is more important for the native. Now friends, when we talk about the benefic side of this axis, that let's say for example ascendant lord is in a strengthened state, Rahu is in the 12th house but it is placed in the Gemini sign, in the Virgo sign, in the Taurus sign, then this alignment can actually give you some sort of success in the foreign land. This alignment can also make you like successful or famous, like many successful celebrities who get more famous after their death. So it can give rise to all those scenarios as well, like working in the fields of secretive agencies, working in the fields of new age sciences, artificial intelligence, fantasy writing. So native can do very good in all these fields as well. But over and above that friends, native has to follow the ethical code. Any clandestine engagement or activities with this axis can give rise to very negative karma or some sort of very threatful future situations and outcomes on the account of enemies. So this is something friends which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs on this Kaal Sarp Yoga, its formation, its good and bad side, and in which all different alignments it can give rise to different kind of situations in our life. So friends, for further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyawad.